Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and connoisseurs of the written word. Welcome back. Today, we'll be talking about conversation, a more deeper kind of conversation, conversations that involve travel. Travel. Now, 30 years ago, people who traveled worldwide were very rare. I mean, you hardly ever met anyone who had traveled to more than, say, four or five countries. If someone had been to France, he was treated like, you know, a demigod. He was as someone super special. Or if someone had been to America, it was almost considered an odyssey. Um, yeah, these are great countries, interesting countries. So, someone who has gone to these countries is obviously treated as somebody special. But there were very few travelers who traveled to more than, say, five or six countries back then. We're talking 30 years ago, 35 years ago. That's not true anymore. That's not true anymore. Nowadays, every Tom, Dick, and Harry can hop onto an airplane that's offering discount rates, discount fares, and literally traipse all over the planet, crisscross the entire planet easily on a budget that is really not that expensive, provided you're willing to tighten your belt. It's not that expensive. So nowadays, you routinely meet people who have visited, say, 30 countries, 40 countries, 60 countries, 90 countries. It's not an unusual number. And many of them have done so at a fairly young age. We're not talking about grizzled travelers, with white hair, um, finally sitting down and retiring from traveling. No, no, no. It's not like that. We're talking about people who are fairly young, who are not even all that rich, and who have traveled extensively. The problem, however, is that when you actually sit down and I'll have to pause it, there's a huge noise in the background. Okay, so let's resume now. The noise has died down, hopefully. But with regard to these people who have traveled extensively, when you actually sit down and talk to them, you find that they really don't have much to say. And usually it's in the form of complaints about the bad food they encountered, the bad weather they encountered, the rude behavior they encountered. It's either a complaint or it is salacious in content. What I mean by that, they talk about the woman they chased, the skirts they chased. So it tends to become rather risque, rather salacious. They don't have anything really insightful to say, despite their extensive travel. You could tell right off the bat that they learned nothing from their wide traveling experience. They were exactly the same person now as they were before they undertook these extensive travels. They hadn't extracted any truths from their travels. So it's really disappointing. All that money spent, all that effort put in, all that time expended. In spite of all that, you find that these people are still impoverished. They really did not gain any deep insight from their travels. You could have a person go to France, take a selfie before the Eiffel Tower, eat a few dishes of French cuisine, and come back without any feeling at all for what the French people are actually about, what the French culture is actually about, what makes the French soul tick. So uh, a lot of people are traveling now in the millions, but believe me, a lot of them, once again in the millions, are really not learning anything from their travels. It's amazing. I mean, you think going to another country, another culture would have a tremendous impact on you, that it would reveal truths to you that would actually transform you, metamorphose you. But no, no. These people are just the same as they once were. No evolution there. But once in a while, you do meet a person who was so intelligent that he actually learned from his travels. And one such person, and they're rare, mind you, they're not common, they're very rare, really rare. I mean, I met hundreds of travelers, hundreds of people who make traveling almost a profession. And I can tell you that it's really rare. Most of them do not learn from their travels. They just learn to complain. But this person, he was from Spain, by the way. Hey, Carlos, if you recognize my voice, it's me. I'm referring to you. Okay? His name was Carlos, and he was the first traveler who had traveled pretty much worldwide. He had been to many countries. He was the first person I met who had traveled a lot and who actually had something new to tell me, a new insight. I learned from him. So, when you're dealing with a person like that, who not only is intelligent, but likes to actually talk, and Carlos was a good conversationalist, he was a social person. So, it's not like he discovered a whole bunch of truths and kept it to himself. He was willing to disseminate his deductions to everyone. So, I sat down with him for a few hours. Okay, here comes that noise again. I'll have to stop it for a moment. But to resume, yeah. So Carlos really should not be called a conversationalist or a talker. Those are words you use for ordinary people. A man who talks so insightfully has a word that better describes him, and that word is R A C O N T E U R. Okay, the R is kind of, let's get the R properly focused. Okay. Raconteur. Racontu. Sorry, Teur. See, it's a long word. Even I'm getting confused. It's really a long word. Raconteur. 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 And uh, this habit of discussing and discoursing on personal experiences, on personal anecdotes, is called recon TEURING. Okay, so the word raconteur, RACONTEUR, and the word raconteuring, RACONTURING, are both nouns. Okay, be careful about that, because raconteuring sounds like an adjective, but actually it's not. It's also a noun, and it refers to the act of recounting, the act of discoursing on personal experience, of relating personal anecdotes. So, when you have a person who has traveled extensively and who can talk almost at the level of you know a person who tells sagas, you know, who can expatiate at that level, you don't call him a talker. You don't call him a conversationalist. You call him a raconteur. Okay, and historically, we had a really great raconteur, Marco Polo. Okay, we know about Marco. Everybody knows about Marco Polo and his famous trip to China. Okay, so we could say Marco Polo was a raconteur of genius. And usually, such raconteurs of genius don't just talk, they actually write down their life experiences. So, I hope that uh, when you sit at a cafe or at a pub, that you're fortunate enough to meet such a person who has traveled widely, examined what he saw, analyzed what he saw, and eventually understood what he saw. It's not easy understanding a different culture. I mean, you really need to bend your mind, almost uh, metamorphose your mind to understand a different culture. So it requires intelligence, it requires imagination, it requires flexibility. So traveling is just a part of the story. If you travel but don't discover truth, all that traveling was futile. It was wasted money, wasted effort. And even if you do travel, and even if you do discover truths, if you don't discourse on those truths with other people, if you don't disseminate those truths to other people, either in the form of a conversation or in the form of a book, once again, all the traveling is a waste. I mean, nobody benefits except you, and all those truths will basically die out with you. So, if you're a great traveler, an extensive traveler, a traveler who's intelligent enough to discover truths on his travels, by all means, be the raconteur of genius. You know, when you're in a bus or in a train or when you're commuting or on an airplane flight, a long airplane flight, 4 hours, 8 hours, you could, strike up a conversation with someone and spread out these truths. They'll tell somebody else, and that person will tell somebody else. So, what you discovered will be disseminated exponentially. You know, we're talking about a ripple of revelation that will spread outward, and before you know it, 10,000 people uh, the truth that you individually discovered, and which, but for you, would not have been discovered. So, try and be the raconteur. It's not easy. Intelligent people are usually introverted. They don't like to talk. So, whatever insights and information they discovered tends to die with them. They keep it to themselves, a secret. So, try not to be like that. I was glad Carlos talked a lot. Well, he couldn't give me everything he had to say because I didn't have a chance to meet him again. I just met him once. But he mentioned things in his anecdotes that even now, 30 years later, still resonate in me, that make me still reflect and still attempt to extract any further implication and elation from what he said. So make your travels pay. Be not just the rover, be not just the person roving, but be the raconteur as well. That way, everybody benefits, uh, not just you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here are two new words: raconteur, raconteuring, raconteuring. Both words are derived incidentally from French, from the French language, if I'm right. Yeah, because there's another word called raconteuse that also describes raconteur, but I don't like to use that word a lot because it has a sort of effeminate ring to it, which is not the trait you associate with titanic travelers, with travelers of genius, with worldwide wanderers, with great discoverers. Okay, so Let's stick to raconteur. It has a more powerful ring to it. Okay, I'm rambling on, so I'll stop here for now and see you in the next video on vast, varied vocabulary. Bye for now.